So I wanted to make a movie about how the person named Nick Lee, Economy Breakfast at Econ Breakfast, who is taking a lot of the pictures of the protest for George Floyd down in Portland, Oregon, how his constant talking about me on Twitter feels. Well, for one thing, right now my neck injury is bothering me, and that's a neck injury I sustained 4 years ago when I was violently assaulted in Astoria, Oregon, by a Portland police brutality victim who experienced brain injury and sight deprivation in his left eye due to a tragic beach accident from which he was rescued by the U.S. Coast Guard. So he had a lot of personality anomalies that were being untreated, and the Portland police brutality, including additional head trauma, caused him to have a lot of issues. So, the assault that I experienced in 2016, I testified for the grand jury in Clatsop County. It involved me being slammed to the kitchen floor, thrashed and crushed by a man surely over 200 pounds, 6'3", and my neck bones began to grind together and almost break. And I felt that happening. As with many times that I had tried to negotiate his violence or his psychoses, I tried to minimize it. I didn't want to wake up my neighbors or scream. But then as my neck bones were grinding together and starting to break and dislocate, it hurts my neck bones to say this, just by the way, that my injury is hurting right now. I knew I had to scream. So as I was turning my head this way to look for a window to get out of the apartment where he had me trapped, I then got such a thrashing in this grinding and thrashing he was doing on me as he berated me and interrogated and screamed at me that I knew my neck bones would break, and then whiplash injuries were incurred on this part of my neck. So if you ever notice in any of my video blogs this very strained musculature, this tendon in this neck is still tight from that 4 years ago injury. I wore a neck brace due to some of the dislocated neck bones would actually go out of joint when I would do like a simple daily activity like picking up a bag of groceries would put additional stress and strain. This side of the neck took a lot of whiplash in the initial slam down onto the kitchen floor because I, in the interest of avoiding a head injury, cradled my neck, crunching my own neck bones with my chin tucked very close to my sternum to protect my head from slamming on the floor because he could have killed me that way. So additionally, after the scream caused him to get off me or be afraid or something, it startled him and snapped him out of his attack. As I ran to the window to get free, he then put me in a choke lock, and his very strong arms from dealing with a lot of lumber up in Washington. Very, very strong human. He could pick me up easily and hold me over his head. Very, very strong. And then I had another fear of death. So this is another, like, two immediate near-death experiences. And the first near-death experience in this situation, I was okay with dying. I was at peace with dying. I was very proud of the work I had done. I was thinking of the Benjamin Clementine song, Adios. Sorry for jumping in front of this train. I waited, but no one came. And in a certain sense, my quest to get him the medical help and the restitution and restoration he needed from the Portland police went unanswered, and me almost dying is what it took for Judge Nelson in Clatsop County to recognize his serious issues needing assistance, and now Judge Bo Peterson was his prosecuting attorney on this assault. He was prosecuted largely for an assault he made on a police officer when I negotiated him out of the headlock. The headlock I believe it had some hesitation in it because his arm was not all the way up at my throat. It was more of a power move, like I've got you, I can control you, I can kill you now. And I, to de-escalate him, said, "This is not you. You don't want to do this. Go get your shoes, let's go for a walk." So he slipped into like an obedient mode and went to go get his shoes. So, this is for Nick Lee of Econ Breakfast. And if you haven't ever testified for a grand jury, the grand jury system is itself riddled with controversy. It was very interesting. I felt very respectful of the prosecuting attorney, who's now Judge Bo Peterson in Clatsop County. I felt very appreciative that he did not want me to be violently assaulted in that manner. And the compassion of the grand jury was evident in all their faces. I demonstrated the entire attack. And I thank the Methodist Church for giving me something to wear from their clothing closet that day. I did wear my neck brace because it helped me deal with the pain, as well as the partial paralysis and spasmodic neuromuscular contraction I experienced on my left side in the immediacy after the attack, which I assumed to be nerve damage, or could be partial stroking. There could have been some strokes, like minor strokes that occurred with the loss of blood flow to the head. I'm not sure. So, the weakness that I feel in the left side after that attack is new and specific to that attack. So when you talk about me all day on Twitter, I want you to think about what you're doing, that these kinds of attacks that people live through are highly traumatizing, and that when you traumatize me repeatedly by speaking about where I am, my whereabouts, who I'm in contact with, and associating me with your brigand of graffiti artist friends, I don't necessarily want to be associated with you. I've never met you. That's part of what makes you a stalker. I asked you not to be rude. I tried to de-escalate you like I tried to de-escalate that 2016 attacker. So let's flash to some other attackers. In 2002, I, as an artist, had a showing of all my art at a punk rock music venue that was kind of like a cafe in the front, an art gallery, and a music venue. And I went there the night of July 25th, 2002. I was harassed, predated on, and followed from room to room. People began becoming alarmed that I was about, 25 then, as a 25-year-old woman was being stalked. It was clear that I was being stalked. So in my attempts to get away from the attackers, I went out into the parking lot. They pushed me into the back of a sports car with 2 doors. The 2 kidnappers promptly got in the 2 doors, thereby trapping me in the back seat. I was taken to a destination where I was eventually raped by the primary assailant. The secondary assailant, when I escaped from the bathroom in which the rape occurred, was naked and wearing a condom. I was able to fight him off. So, I could go into the greater detail about the details of that rape, but just to have a summary of that type of abusive behavior, that's something I've had to live with. I have to deal with the trauma from that on a daily basis. So when you harass me on Twitter and get your friends to bully me on Twitter, it compounds a historic rape that I'm facing an 18-year anniversary for. And that wasn't the first rape. The first rape was in 1998. It was at my gay best friend's house. and he had just acquired a new roommate to rent a vacant room in the big house, and I was safely asleep on my gay best friend's bed. But the hetero rapist came and raped me in my sleep. I was barely waking up as he was naked over my body. And fortunately, putting on a condom. And I said, no, 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 no. And he raped me. And I was very aware that it was a rape. And he was too big and too heavy and too strong for me to fight off. So, my third and most recent rape was when I was traveling in Stockholm, Sweden. A man I was introduced to who was family members in intelligence agencies, and therefore possibly would have a harder time getting prosecuted. I was told, oh, go over to his house. He has a big, huge apartment and lots of roommates, and everything's cool, and they're wonderful people. So I go over there, and I'm basically saving money. I'm a couch surfer. I'm saving money on hotels. Hotels are outrageously expensive. It's very hard to travel on a budget, and there's nowhere to sleep but his tiny bed. And he begs and begs and begs and begs for sex, and I decline him over and over again, giving him numerous reasons, and then he rapes. And I reported it when I felt safe to do so, and that was in America. I didn't feel safe to report that rape in a foreign country. Having an overstayed visa, I was gradually aware of. Robert O'Neill killed Osama bin Laden, and then I came home and flew into New York City, where Obama was going to talk about the killing of Osama bin Laden, and then I flew to LA and hung out with Barry Goldberg. So, other bad things have happened to me. This guy called Max Schuster, approximately 2001, I thought he was a friend. I'd helped him out so much. I'd helped him clean his apartment. He just suddenly went out of control. He grabbed my eyeglasses off my face that are prescription, crushed them, threw them to the ground, thereby blinding me, and knocked me to the ground and began kicking me as well as stomping on my skull. So that his name is Max Schuster. His family owns the Green Hills Lamp Store in Nashville, Tennessee. I've talked to him about it on Twitter, and he has not apologized. His family never paid for any medical damages. The bruising from that assault was photographed by the Nashville police. I completely understood that his political connections in a rich community in Nashville would protect him. He was already viewed as mentally ill by his family, so he surely had a great defense to beating a woman or inflicting violent lethal force on her head via stomping. And I was able to scramble and get away and run up to the neighbor's house and get them to call 911. The police were not fast enough. One of the first things he did before he even took my glasses was he took my car key out of my hand. And it was hard to look for it in the grass in the dark, but my friend who witnessed this did not defend me, allowed this to happen, found the key, and drove the car because I was rather shaken. We went to night court, hoping to get some answers. They told us to come back the next day and talk to the detective. So, another bad thing that happened to me that you should know about Nick Lee is I was driving a car on Briley Parkway in Nashville, Tennessee, outside Madison, Tennessee, and the person in the passenger seat began beating me as I was about 55 miles per hour, which was the speed for that type of a highway. And I'd had my seat kind of like laid back, and so there was space enough for him to hit my back. And it was very hard. It was very violent. It was utterly terrifying. Everything I could do was just keep my hands on the wheel. The beating stopped. I'm not sure how long it went on. It had to be like 5 or 10 thuds on my back. Hard enough to knock the wind out of me and cause me to crash the car, thereby killing both of us. So those are some violent incidences I've experienced. I mean, my mom slapped me occasionally. My dad didn't believe in that. My dad was way cool. I just think you should know about that. And if you want to keep circulating your hate campaign about me on Twitter to traumatize me, I understand that you have your reasons and that there's something that you get out of it. I'm a unique person who's never met you. I only know you based on your Twitter behavior. And I saw you being rude and sexually harassing a man. And I asked you not to sexually harass. It's traumatizing. And you didn't stop. And so I think you really need to reevaluate your misogyny and your self-hatred and your homophobia and your transphobia and all the hatred you heap on people in your community, in your GLBTQ community. I'm waiting for your apology, and I'd like each and every tweet using my name scrubbed, my great-great-grandfather's name scrubbed. If you would like me to scrub my intervention with you on Twitter for your Twitter harassment campaign, we could talk about it. Feel free to comment in this video. And I'm sorry to share these heavy-duty physical assaults with you, but I think you need to hear that because you don't seem to understand that you're putting my safety in danger. The man who almost killed me 4 years ago lives in this county, and you constantly tweeting about me could put me in danger. The man who assaulted me the following year, who works for Seaside Parks District, the Meals on Wheels director, supposing they haven't finally got the guts to fire him or deprogram him, he hired a lawyer to stalk me up to a year ago. So you're kind of piggybacking on a lot of male violence. You've got the 2002 rapist, the 2001 head crusher, you've got the guy trying to break my neck in 2016, you've got a rapist in 98 and 2011, and all those men made me feel uncomfortable, and I'm asking you not to make me uncomfortable and not to breach my privacy on a regular basis, not to harass me and disclose my whereabouts to people unknown to me. And my gift of activism to your community, I chose to give on my own terms. You're not my manager, you're not my pimp, you're not my PR agent, you're not even my paparazzi. You do not home stalk me the way I've seen you do to people in Portland. Your home stalking is extremely traumatizing to me. I've been stalked before by an old stalker in school. I've been stalked by the guy who beat me on the highway. I've been stalked by the guy who tried to snap my neck. And when I call you a stalker, I don't use that term lightly. Your behavior is alarming. You need to stop it. You need to stop tweeting about me every day and stop spreading fictitious rumors and innuendo about people not based in reality but based in your fantasy. You need to understand that your fantasy that one of your stalking victims becomes a serial killer is not the same as the victim of your stalking being an actual killer. So those confusions you have are very apparent to me, and it seems to me you have a thinking problem as to why the misogyny you promulgate to your audience is acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's child abuse. There are children you are endangering by promoting a violent, abusive mentality towards your fellow human beings here. So, thank you for listening, and good luck getting over your trauma. I hope everything works out for you. Please cease and desist from talking about me on the internet. And send me a list of everything you want deleted. All my many attempts to get you to cease and desist. You want me to delete my cease and desists? Is that it? That's kind of crazy. Okay, where's my mouse?